here is a recent ghost story from a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or what the world would call Mormon. And yes, Mormons do believe in ghosts if they actually believe in what we call the plan of salvation or in the spirit world, which we know is on earth all around us all the time. So if you're one of those members of the church who claims not to believe in ghosts, you don't understand our theology. So let me jump right into it. So not last night, but the night before last, here in Tennessee, around 2:30 in the morning, I am sleeping, and underneath where I was sleeping, there is an entrance into our basement on the side of the house. And I was in that like half asleep, half awake feeling, and I heard a thud, or I heard some movement beneath me, which was in the basement. And then I heard our security alarm trip. And from there, you just start to hear it goes on for 30 seconds, where you have 30 seconds to put the code in. So I hear like beep, 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 beep. And I was still kind of half asleep, half awake. And then finally, it tripped the alarm, and the alarm was now blaring through the house. And I don't know why, but half asleep me just assumed that it was nothing. And I woke my husband up, and I was like, go turn off the alarm system. So he goes in, turns it off, and we go back into bed together. But then I realized that, oh wait, I checked my phone and it said that the basement door had opened. And I realized that someone probably had actually just broken in. And so I called the police, and I stayed on the phone with the police. I told them, the address of our emergency, and they said that they were sending people out, which felt like an eternity. And my husband was standing by our bedroom door with a baseball bat a few feet away from where the upstairs door is for the entrance to the basement. So we're in one of those 70s ranch style homes, and there's a staircase that leads up to the main level where we were, where there's a door that separates the basement from us. And while I was on the phone with the police, we were obviously very quiet. My husband was standing there with a baseball bat, which I'm now realizing is not going to do anything really to protect us. So now I'm thinking about protection and like begging the police to get here faster. While we were sitting there in silence, and the operator wasn't saying anything, she was just staying there with me, we heard, so at the top of the stairs, like separating the basement from the main level, on the other side of the door, there is a motion detected light. So every time I open that door, or every time something passes directly in front of that motion sensor, the light turns on. And when it turns on, we hear this little click. And obviously you can see the light from underneath the door. And so while we were sitting there silent, and honestly, I was terrified. My heart was beating out of my chest. Like, my husband and I both were convinced that someone was in our basement, and we're just waiting for the police to get here. And then both of us hear in the hallway, just a few feet away from us, the motion detected light flick on, and we can see the light from underneath the door. So at this point, my husband and I are absolutely convinced that someone is on the other side of that door. And by the way, my husband and I are not standing close enough to even trigger it. We have passed, so when we're in the basement and we pass the staircase, that doesn't even trip the sensor. You have to be like up next to it for it to go off. So we're convinced that someone is standing there. And so I'm like on the phone with the operator and like begging them to get here faster, because I think someone is about to break in and we're going to have to protect ourselves. And this is kind of a funny, but kind of not so funny note. The police finally get here, except they get our address wrong. The operator's on the phone with me, and she tells me that she makes contact, the police made contact with an individual, and she said, did you authorize any individual to be in your basement? And I said, no, you have permission to arrest them. They're at my neighbor's house, and I had a neighbor in the back smoking in the middle of the night, and they had him in handcuffs ready to arrest him. And somehow, you can imagine what that conversation was like, that man lives here. But somehow they figure out they're at the wrong address, and they finally come over to our property. They search the whole property, they go in the basement, and there's nothing, and there's no one. And so one might think that maybe someone came into the side basement entrance door, which tripped the alarm. They heard the alarm blaring, and then they would leave, right? They would just flee the scene. But that doesn't make sense, because a minute or two after the alarm went off and we were on the phone with the operator, and it was dead silent at this point, we heard and we could hear and see that the motion detected light turned on at the top of the basement stairs, just a few feet away from our bedroom door. And there's, again, I walk in front of that door every day, and that's not enough to trip it or turn the light on. It only turns on when the door opens or something crosses directly in front of it. In fact, I'll show you right now. So this is the basement door, and I am honestly so creeped out right now. So there's the sensor. So we have a sensor to this basement door as well as the one downstairs to the left. But we do have this little lock on it, which, let's be honest, is not really doing much. This is a very thin door. So listen carefully when I open the door. Did you hear that click? And when we open this door, you probably heard the little da-da to the basement, and we're doing a lot of construction down there right now, so it doesn't look the greatest, but that is the motion detected light. So this light right here only turns on when something crosses directly in front of it, which in this case, it was this door. So obviously I was relieved when I found out that there was no human here that was here to break in, but I was almost a little bit more freaked out at the fact that we both know that something tripped the alarm system. Before the alarm system tripped, I did hear a thud beneath me, and then a few minutes later, the motion detected light turns on. So it's like I'm relieved, but at the same time, I'm not very relieved because I know that something tripped both of those things. I know I heard that thud. It wasn't nothing. This is, again, around 3 a.m. in the morning at this point, which, again, there's so many stories involved with 3 in the morning. I can't tell you why. That's just what people believe. The veil is at the thinnest. We did just move into this house. Like I said, it's a 1970s ranch style home, so it is a few decades old, probably around 50 years old. I did find out from the real estate agent who sold us this house that there were 2 deaths in this house. There was a little old couple that lived here. One worked at a hospital on some board, and his wife was a nurse there for many, many years. They had 3 kids. Their kids are actually the ones that inherited it and sold us the home. But that both of them did pass here peacefully, and my real estate agent was able to send me their obituaries. So whether this was them or not them, I know that something was trying to get our attention the other night, and needless to say, I have been very freaked out in this house ever since. So what is your explanation for this? And if you're a member of the church, do you believe in ghosts? And if not, give me a good reason why, because like I said, our theology teaches us about the spirit world.